Oh my God, I can't believe it. Jon Gruden is practicing with the Chiefs. Plus, star players like Max Crosby believe Gruden is coming back soon.
I hate that, you know, it is the way it is, but he'll be back. He'll be back very soon. I have zero doubt.
And also, Raiders wide receiver Davante Adams was talking about Gruden just the other day on Shannon Sharpe's podcast. He was asked about the relationship between Derek Carr and Jon Gruden, and he had something quite interesting to say.
They had an interesting relationship to say the least. And I know he was on board with him, and he loved Gru, and Gru loved me too. And that was another reason why I was real fired up about potentially being a Raider, was that I knew that, you know, he had strong feelings about me as a player. So, and then once he left, that was like the first piece of it where I was like, now are they even gonna want me?
One of the key things he said here is he was excited about working with Jon Gruden. That just shows that the trade for Davante Adams from the Green Bay Packers was already well in the works before Josh McDaniels became the head coach. It was likely going to happen anyways if Jon Gruden would have remained the head coach of the Raiders in 2021. And it just makes you wonder how special the Raiders could have been if Jon Gruden was not unfairly canceled by allegedly the NFL and Roger Goodell. The Raiders made the playoffs in 2021 with Jon Gruden's team and obviously Rich Bisaccia being the interim coach at the back end of the season. We could be sitting here right now in year 3 of Jon Gruden, Davante Adams, and Derek Carr with now a great defense. Damn, the NFL really screwed us Raiders fans over, man. But there was some more interesting comments by Raiders star defensive end Max Crosby about Jon Gruden recently. Richie Incognito, former Raiders guard, was on The Rush, Max Crosby's podcast, and in this interview, they had a long section where they talked about Jon Gruden, and for Richie Incognito, it was his favorite head coach in his 10+ years in the NFL.
But my all-time favorite's Gruden. I mean, all-time.
All-time. Fuck yes. He's the GOAT.
Dude, the
fucking GOAT. No, Gruden is the man. People don't even understand. He's a legend.
Thank you to my sponsor, Underdog Fantasy, the best place to play fantasy sports. The easiest way to get in on the NFL action is with Underdog Fantasy Sports and their Pick'em game. Just find your favorite player, or any player really, pick higher or lower on that player's stats, and you can win up to 20 times your money in one night. Underdog keeps everything super simple with their intuitive website and their mobile app. Pick between 2 to 5 players to fill your Pick'em entry. Get every pick right and you can net some serious cash. Use code WiFi to claim your special pick plus first-time deposit offers of up to $250 in bonus cash. Underdog Fantasy is available in many states across the US. Check this map to see if your state is eligible. Shout out to my home state of California. Join my fantasy draft on Underdog. Hit me up on Twitter or Instagram if you sign up and I'll give you the invite to the league. Again, download Underdog Fantasy, use code Wi-Fi, and get those picks in now. Thank you, Underdog Fantasy. Not only did Richie Incognito praise Jon Gruden, but recently Max Crosby keeps on talking about the guy, and it seems like he's upset that Jon Gruden has not gotten that much credit ever since he was canceled. He talked about the fact that Gruden, despite having not that great of a roster on offense, was able to give some guys career years, especially at the wide receiver position.
Gruden doesn't get enough credit for it, but the way he used certain guys was incredible. Like, he brought the best out of Waller. He brought the best out of Renfro. Yes. He made Zay Jones. I mean, Zay Jones had the best years of his career. Nelson Aguilar. Nobody even talks about it. Like, Nelly went crazy in 2020. Year. But yeah, it just shows like Gruden is, I mean, when it comes to offense and knowing how to air the ball out and get guys involved, like Gruden's one of the best to do it, period.
And that's what really sucks, because in Jon Gruden's second stint with the Raiders, he never had a wide receiver like Davante Adams, and it's crazy to think that that would have happened in 2022. Instead, like Max Crosby said, he was working with Nelson Aguilar, working with wide receivers like Hunter Renfro, Zay Jones, and Darren Waller, yes, was an absolute baller under Jon Gruden, but ever since Gruden has been out of the picture, Waller has not had great numbers, and he is now retired from the NFL. But what I found the most interesting is Max Crosby expounding on his relationship with Jon Gruden and how Gruden even has a relationship with Crosby's family.
Just random as I'm like, oh, what's up? Boom, answer the phone. It's Gruden with my parents, like eating dinner. I'm like, what the is going on right now? Like, I'm being pranked. And they're like, oh yeah, you know, coach, you know, Cindy texted me and we were in town, so you know, we hit up your parents, got dinner. I'm like, they're the best, bro. Like, literally
best,
just shows like the type of dude he is. So
this just shows how close this player and this coach was, man. And it seems like they still talk on a regular basis, and that's why I find this other comment by Max Crosby so important. This is when we're talking about Jon Gruden's future in the NFL, because the dude is still young for a head coach, 60 years old, same age as somebody like Jim Harbaugh. It is not over for Jon Gruden. He will come back soon. Just hear it from the horse's mouth.
Every time we get to talking about him, I have to give him his flowers, because I hate that, you know, it is the way it is, but he'll be back. He'll be back very soon. I have zero doubt.
That's our
In early October, it will be 3 years since Jon Gruden was unfairly forced to resign from his position as head coach of the Raiders. Time has passed and the tide has changed, and I think a lot of people are more sympathetic to Jon Gruden right now than ever. And Max Crosby has a close relationship with Jon Gruden. He knows stuff that we do not know. And it seems like he's very confident that this guy will be coaching back in the NFL someday. And knowing Jon Gruden, the fact that he's won a Super Bowl, the fact that he was in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Ring of Honor, this guy has too big of accolades where he's not going to settle for a college football head coach. He's not going to settle for an offensive coordinator position. I believe, based on some of the consulting we've seen with Jon Gruden lately, he is making his way back in the NFL, and he will be a head coach again soon. Gruden has also been hanging out with some media figures who are close to the NFL, none other than Frank Caliendo, the man who has a brilliant Jon Gruden impression.
I say, you want to have dinner, man? On me, man. So we go to dinner, and I'm at the restaurant, and I text him, where are you? He's like, we went to the wrong one. I'm like, you set it up. It was your plan. It was your plan. You threw to the wrong receiver, man.
hot route.
Spider 2, why banana? Who's the primary guy? The fullback, man.
Jon Gruden's son, Mike Gruden, posted some pictures of the Gruden family with Frank Caliendo, and we know that Jon Gruden has been really popular on Cameo. He's been using Cameo.com, where you could pay Jon Gruden to say happy birthday to your friend, family, different things like that. And some people have been getting the 2-for-1 special where Frank Caliendo jumps in as well.
Well, I thought you'd get a 2-for-1 cameo here. Any parting words for these guys? You guys are doing a great job, man. Continue to do what you do. Little Spider 2 live banana cream pie for dessert, man. Give me a little Jerry Jones. I have been. I've been thinking about it a lot in the shower. How about Pat Mahomes?
Oh, man, I think this is going to be pretty good. It's going to be a great thing right here.
You got that.
So we're seeing NFL players finally speak up positively about Jon Gruden. We're seeing Jon Gruden consult with other teams around the NFL. And now we're seeing media figures like Frank Caliendo, who still work with the NFL, also not afraid to be associated with Jon Gruden. Jon Gruden has also been invited to be a guest speaker at several events. Most recently, the Charlotte Touchdown Club had Jon Gruden be the headline speaker at their event trying to promote high school football. He was able to tell some fun stories, and you could just see the whole entire room light up and be completely stoked to have him there. Remember, just last season, Jon Gruden was spotted working out with Derek Carr and the New Orleans Saints. Not only did he help them out around training camp and was wearing a Saints t-shirt, but he also helped them out towards the end of the year when they beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Saints coaching staff and some players were meeting with Jon Gruden before that matchup. And a lot of people thought that Gruden would eventually be coaching with the New Orleans Saints in some fashion, maybe as an assistant, maybe as an offensive coordinator. Like I said before, I don't think he wants to settle for that. Plus, he still has his lawsuit with the NFL in the background. And about his lawsuit, the Nevada Supreme Court recently ruled against Jon Gruden 2-1, sending his case to arbitration, where Roger Goodell is going to decide his own punishment for allegedly leaking Jon Gruden's emails. It's just completely BS that they ruled in the NFL's favor here. However, on July 30th, Jon Gruden is now having a Hail Mary attempt to save his case against the NFL and Roger Goodell. He has petitioned the Supreme Court of Nevada to grant an en banc reconsideration. Like we mentioned earlier, the judges ruled against Jon Gruden 2-1, but this en banc consideration is going to get all 7 justices involved in the Nevada Supreme Court, and Gruden's going to hope that he can get a 4-3, maybe a 5-2 victory here. But this is his last Hail Mary effort, man. If this does not work out for for Jon Gruden, he's probably just going to be done with it. Yeah, he could try to get the U.S. Supreme Court to hear this case, but if he does that, it's going to take years and years for it to even come to their desk. So that is why you see him sort of moving on with his football career. Aside from the Saints, we know that Jon Gruden helped out Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons, doing some consulting for them, teaching them that West Coast offense. And now the most recent thing that happened today during training camp, and it hurts to see this, man. Jon Gruden with the Kansas City Chiefs wearing Chiefs gear, hanging out with Andy Reid. And it is disgusting to see Gruden in Chiefs gear, but he wore Saints gear when he was helping out Derek Carr. And it seems like on the field, everybody is in Chiefs gear there. That tells me that Jon Gruden is not visiting the Chiefs training camp just to hang out. That tells me that he's being hired in some fashion as a consultant. Keep in mind, he's been good friends with Andy Reid for a long time. They both were under Mike Holmgren's coaching staff with the Green Bay Packers. And whenever Jon Gruden faced the Chiefs with the Raiders, we always saw him after the game give Andy Reid a little belly rub. But to me, this just goes to show you how much Andy Reid respects Jon Gruden, how much these guys are contemporaries. And it just pisses me off that the NFL removed this guy as head coach as the Raiders.
I appreciate your support of the Silver and Black, and I still claim that I'm a proud member of Raider Nation.
I think he was going toe-to-toe with Andy Reid, 1-1 against him in 2020, almost swept the Chiefs in 2020.
Jackpot, baby! Raiders beat the Chiefs 40-32.
And he never got to face them in 2021 because he was canceled before then. And I don't blame Jon Gruden for taking this opportunity with the Kansas City Chiefs. The Raiders owner Mark Davis did not stand up for Jon Gruden as much as he could have. Yes, I know his hands were tied. Roger Goodell in the NFL, according to Mark Davis in an ESPN interview, said that Davis had to do something. He had to get rid of Jon Gruden against his will. We know Mark Davis seemed to love Jon Gruden. You see him laughing with him courtside at Golden State Warriors games. The man looked up to the guy, but he eventually bent to the pressure of the NFL, forced Jon Gruden to resign, and then hired Josh McDaniels as the head coach. Jon Gruden right now is desperately trying to get back into the NFL, trying to boost his image in any way possible, working out with the Saints, Falcons, and now the Chiefs. This is huge. Really, this is a cool gesture by Andy Reid here, trying to help build his friend's image up and get Jon Gruden back into the league. The big question is, will Taylor Swift approve of Jon Gruden consulting with the Kansas City Chiefs? Uh-oh. We have seen people stick up for Jon Gruden in the past. We had a bunch of former players and analysts talk about Jon Gruden favorably.
But I do not believe that Jon Gruden himself is a racist. I would not put that on him.
I didn't see anything racist from Jon Gruden my 6 years playing underneath him.
Coach Gruden has never ever done anything verbally that would make me think that he is a racist, he's homophobic.
But I will end it like this. We all have emails, so be careful what you ask for.
But you're not gonna call my head coach a racist. There's no way a fire-breathing racist would be in front of me or on my speed dial.
I think that Jon Gruden should be welcomed back into the NFL.
Yes.
It was 10 years ago, and I'm not going to chalk everything up to racism. I think we accept his apology, move forward.
Being so close to him and being one of his closest players, I believe, I know he's not a racist.
Well, I probably know Jon better than anybody in the league on a personal level.
And we know more recently, NFL reporters like Amber Theo Harris also stuck up for the guy.
And he gets out of the car, he beelines and walks right up to me, sticks his hand out, and he goes, "I'm a big fan of yours." And I said, "Wow. What?" And he said, "Keep giving those boys hell. You know what you're talking about." And for a football mind like that, when you're battling as a woman to really prove yourself, and you know the game, and you know that you have great analysis, you know, people see just a woman. For a man of that level to give me that vote of confidence meant a lot to me.
And now you have Andy Reid sticking up for Jon Gruden. If the Chiefs aren't afraid to hire him as a consultant, then no team in the NFL should be afraid to hire Jon Gruden as a head coach. With Crosby's statement, with the lawsuit wrapping up, be on the lookout for Jon Gruden coaching an NFL team in 2025. My name is Wi-Fi Willie. Subscribe to this channel for more content from me. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.